Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 19th, 2024 Public Services Committee. A little housekeeping. If you have cell phones, please put them on mute or turn them off. If you approach the podium, please turn the button on so we can hear you and identify yourself.
Number 9, ordinance third reading, amending section 10.12.160, authority to impound illegally parked vehicles, and section 10.12.170, immobilization of chapter 10.12, administration and enforcement of title 10, vehicles and traffic of the municipal code of the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, modifying specified enforcement provisions regarding vehicle impoundment.
Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David James, Captain, Cheyenne Police Department. I know it's third reading, so I'm gonna try to be short, but I did miss the last meeting. I was out of town. And so I just wanted to cover a lot of this to make sure everyone knew exactly what we're working on here. This is the first of the parking ordinances that we're looking at updating to streamline how we do things. The biggest thing in here is it adds registered owner to the scofflaw list. If someone accrues more than 3 or more parking tickets that then become late. The current law is written, it only includes the vehicle. So like our top offender has over $6,000 worth of parking tickets. That individual now has a new car. He parks downtown. That vehicle is not on the scofflaw list. So he can park his new vehicle down there and not get disabled or immobilized or towed. The new one would then put the name on there as well. So it includes both the vehicle and registered owner. Makes it much more simple for us to enforce the scofflaw list. It also adds towing to the scofflaw list. Typically, we don't tow people on scofflaw list. We just immobilize them, but this gives the option to go straight to towing without another offense. And again, people who get into the thousands and thousands of dollars, we've had them steal the boots. We recently had someone remove their tire and take the boot with them, and then we charged them with theft. We would much rather head those things off and just tow their car right off the start. But again, that'll be up to the discretion of the chief. And then we address it's the review request for if your vehicle gets immobilized, you can request a review. The current ordinance says that review goes through city court, which does not seem proper since city court, the state gives them authority to see criminal matters. This is a civil matter. So we've cleaned that up just to make that a little more user friendly and streamlined. So, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from committee? Questions? I have one. This person that's $6,000 behind, is he grandfathered in? Does that mean that he does now this one going forward? We don't.
I don't believe it would be grandfathered because he still owes that much. He's still on the scofflaw list. So then the name would go on there as well. And we're also exploring authority because this individual has been stopped in traffic stops multiple times. And so what is the authority going forward under this to then immobilize or tow that vehicle during a traffic stop as well? Because it's become an area where we just have very few people in Cheyenne that has reached this ridiculous level on the scofflaw list to where it needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from committee?
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Ray.
how long do we typically leave a boot on or intend to leave a boot on now with this change?
Well, in here, I believe we left it in there that after 2 days, we tow the car regardless. And I think we even left it. I kind of wanted to change shall to may, but I think it still says shall. So after 2 days, we shall tow the vehicle. So we'll.
So obviously, as my colleague from Ward 1 brought up 2 weeks ago, I presume some of that's dependent on room in the tow lot.
Oh, yeah, and that's where I do apologize. I wasn't here to answer this. These are tows by private companies, so these do not go to the abandoned motor vehicle lot. So we call a company, they're happy to take it because then they also charge the storage fees on
They
top of
charge
it.
the ransom.
Yeah. Yes. So there is never a shortage of places to take these tows.
Okay, thank you, Captain, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions or comments for Captain? Okay, any public comment? Public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve on third and final. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from committee? Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Number 10, ordinance second reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, changing the zoning classification from MR, medium density residential, to NR2, neighborhood residential, medium density, for land located south of West Fifth Street between Patton Avenue and Snyder Avenue.
Any staff report, please?
Chair and members of the committee, Connor White, Planning and Development Department. The zone change before you is for a portion of a lot that is south of Fifth between Snyder and Patton Avenue. So on the zone change map, it would be the southern half is proposed to go from MR to NR2. There will be a plat that's going to accompany the zone change that will be introduced next Monday. That way that it would have basically end with the same timeline as the zone change. That's why the plat isn't in front of you today. But the zone change map does show kind of what the plat outline is going to be. The proposed project here is cottage lot style development. So there'll be cottage lots, smaller lots that have a common, basically common drive, common open space, and amenities for this subdivision. So with that, the applicant is requesting NR2, which then permits the cottage lot development. It would be a conditional use in the MR zone, but they feel that the NR2 would better match what their planned development is, which is why they're requesting the NR2. Planning Commission did hear this item at their March 4th meeting and voted to recommend approval by a 4-to-1 vote or 3-to-1 vote. And staff would recommend approval of this zoning map amendment. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for committee? Mr. Laborn?
So, could you tell me what the one planning commission no vote, what was their concern? It seems to me like this is a real benefit to the south side, and this empty space could be turned into something of value right next to our park. So what's the problem?
Mr. Chair, through you, that planning commission member felt that this is spot zoning. Our department would not believe this is spot zoning because it is a residential zone and the future land use map. This is all actually urban residential, which allows for a variety of residential uses and residential zones. So it's basically going from one residential zone to another residential zone. On a map, yes, it looks like you're just adding a different color in that area. But we would not count that as spot zoning because it's still a residential zone into a residential zone. We would consider spot zoning to be if they decide they want to turn this into light industrial, for example, then you're spot zoning. I mean, it's all residential all around. Future land use map is urban residential. Putting light industrial there would be spot zoning at that point. But changing to NR2 would not be considered spot zoning, again, because it's still a residential zone in a residential area.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from committee? Questions or comments? Public?
Chairman, Public Service Members, Brad Emmons, AVI agent for the applicant, Carlton Homes, and the owner, Pinewood Village LLC. Connor covered most of the things correctly. This will be a cottage lot, townhome development, rear loaded garages. So those open spaces behind them is to provide alley access to each of the units. I did bring the preliminary plat too, just for your guys' viewing. It's a little easier to see what land is actually being used. As Councilman Laybourne stated, it is a good use or reuse of a vacant, basically parcel. So it's taking the south half of the Pinewood Village and reappropriating it for townhouses. And again, want to thank the council for approving the cottage lot development thing about 2 years ago, and the width changes that have occurred recently have allowed for this type of development to move forward. So we want to thank the council for be proactive with these changes and allowing some more density in these areas. Be happy to answer any questions if the council has.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
through you. Roughly how many lots are there?
Mr. Chairman, I think there's 78 lots, which one's the remaining one that will be the leftover one for the Pinewood Village. And then one lot is the open space access road detention pond. And then so 76, I believe, townhouse units.
Do you have a idea yet, price wise? Is this something that, you know, first time home buyers can get into? Is that what we're trying to do here?
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, that would be the goal. So they basically are a two-story drive under, so there'll be townhouses. I wouldn't say they're gonna be a little bit smaller, but if you think about the townhouses in the point that are along Gardenia, that back up through Gardenia, so they're 2 or 3 stories units, but yes, it would be something in that category. That's what their goal is anyway.
Perfect. Mr. Chair, I think this is a great use of available land and infill and very supportive of the project. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments, Brad? Questions or comments? Okay, thank you. And okay, so public, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion is second. Any questions or comments from committee? Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number 11, ordinance second reading, annexing to the city of Cheyenne, Wyoming, land located southwest of the I-25 and I-80 interchange adjacent to Round Top Road.
Okay, staff.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is AJ Swain, Cheyenne Planning and Development. So today I have an annexation that's on the screen right behind you. This annexation was petitioned on January 25th by the landowner, and it was certified by the city clerk on January 25th. It did go before Planning Commission on March 4th and was approved, as well as it was seen before the city council on March 11th. It is roughly 923 acres. And staff is standing by for any questions.
Any questions from committee? Questions? Mr. Laborn?
Well, I'm not sure how this might affect, this annexation might affect the interstate, but for my edification, when I look at that I-80, I-25 interchange, over the years, there's been a lot of discussion of rehabilitating it or rebuilding it. What possible effect could that have on this annexation? I guess we'd work with the YDOT on that, but is that any sort of consideration in regard to this?
Stand by for
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Seth Lynn with the City of Cheyenne Planning and Development Department. The intersection of interchange of I-80 and I-25 does have variable jurisdictional boundaries going through it. There's parts that are in the city and parts that are in the county. I don't believe that either this annexation or other annexations really has much of an influence on YDOT. They'll go and acquire land as necessary. And they'll possibly annex if they feel like that's a benefit to their operations. But if this land is annexed and they need some of that land, they'll just come and get it. It's already, the area that this annexation is adjacent to, I-80 and I-25, is already within city limits. So it might make it slightly easier because it'll all be under one jurisdiction, but I don't anticipate any issues with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Rennie?
and perhaps Mr. Emmons will address it. I realize that after the annexation, the zoning's coming in, and I've, been a proponent of annexing things that are in the city, but we have the kind of the square area, almost, or rectangle area south of North Range Business Park, and then there's that long neck that runs to the east. Is there any purpose? Mr. Emmons can answer what the developer has planned and why include that portion in it. And then one last thing, is our staff bothered to figure out that now what, if we do annex this, what's the contiguity with the North Range Business Park?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Brad Emmons, I'll start with our questions maybe on that. The primary purpose of this annexation is I would say the stuff just south of the I-80, the southwest corner of the I-80 Round Top Road. Has been purchased by the Microsoft Corporation for data centers and to provide water and sewer to that parcel. We have moved forward with annexation. We talked to the adjacent landowners, which were Swan Ranch LLC and Dino Nobel, and they agreed to help with that annexation of this property. So that's the reason the configuration is the way it is because of the landowners that were requested were willing to work with us to bring those parcels into the city. So about 75% of this annexation is what we call Project Equality, which is a project we're working with Cheyenne Leads to bring in for Microsoft. The rest of the property is primarily owned by Dino Nobel. So those are the primary two landowners that are part of this annexation and were the way that we were able to get there. Once this is in the North Range Business Park, the entire south boundary of existing North Range Business Park would be contiguous with the city limits. So I don't know what percentage that is, but I can say it's gonna be, yeah. So.
Go ahead, Dr. Rennie. Do you have a follow-up?
No, I just, thank you, Mr. Emmons. I do have a follow-up, but I think it's more related to the zoning later on. So.
And then you had a question for Seth?
I think Brad covered it pretty well. Once again, this is Seth Lloyd's Planning and Development Department. I would note for the purposes of state statute, you can jump freeways or highways for contiguity. So we could, with this, after this annexation, North Range Business Park would be considered effectively contiguous because we could jump I-80 to get to North Range Business Park.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I was aware that the interstate wouldn't be a factor in that. I was just wondering, I know there's a certain percentage of contiguity you have to have, and I was just curious if we bothered to calculate that yet.
Mr. Chair, through you, I have not seen any official calculation on percent contiguity required. I know that there was an opinion given at one point that it had to be like 10 or 15%, but never seen anything officially codified on that. For the purposes of discussion, I would note that this annexation is only actually 8 or 9% contiguous. However, it is also over 4,000 linear feet contiguous. So is that substantially contiguous? Is it not? I don't know if that's really, I would say yes, this is substantially contiguous to the city. But I suppose that maybe someone could make an argument that it's not because it's only 8% of the boundary of the annexation.
Okay. My understanding was we were working on the premise of 12.5%, but I'm not sure how that's been handled. in
Mr.
recent
Chair,
years.
I would note that there have been other annexations that have been under 10% contiguous. I don't remember them off the top of my head. I just remember seeing them on the map where it said the percent contiguous and it was under 10 and we annexed and we haven't had any issues with those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any further public comment? Public comment. I just have a quick question. Where the yellow zone is and the red, the brown spot in the middle, is that still a county pocket?
Mr. Chairman, through you to the public service is not considered a pocket because there isn't. As you go north, there's more county land, so you kind of go up there, then you go to North Range Business Park, and it actually, so it does not create a
Pocket.
completely 100% pocket.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further comment or public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from committee? Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Number 12, ordinance second reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, establishing the zoning classification of AG agricultural, LR low density residential, MR medium density residential, HI heavy industrial, and CB community business for land annexed to the city of Cheyenne located southwest of the I-25 and I-80 interchange adjacent to Round Top Road.
Staff report.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee again, AJ Swain, Seth is pulling up the map. Oh, here it is for you. This is a continuation of the previous ordinance. So we're trying to this map shows the current zoning for the land to be annexed. It shows the county zones that are proposed to be changed to AG and LI. Standing by for any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Dr. Rennie.
I presume we're going through our new process. This is the zones that we're assigning because it's comparable to what's already there. And then the next item will be the zones that the applicant actually wants.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I have no discussion on this one then.
Okay. Okay, any further questions from committee? Questions? Okay, public comment.
Chairman, council members, Brad Emmons, AVI, agent for the applicants on this. Again, yes, this is that portion. As we move through this, I don't know if I really should say that we don't want this or we do want this because, but obviously, our clients would like the zonings that are under number 13. So, I think as we move forward, maybe there's a way to combine these into one ordinance and just say if the council doesn't approve the ones that we're requesting, they default to the ones behind it. So we're not doing this twice, but yeah, we are looking forward to the zoning that is in item 13. So just wanted to point that out.
Any public, other public comment? Public comment. Okay. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments from committee? Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Number 13, ordinance second reading, amending the official zoning map of the city of Cheyenne, changing the zoning classification of AG agricultural, LR low density residential, MR medium density residential, HI heavy industrial, and CB community business to AG agricultural and LI light industrial for land located southwest of the I-25 and I-80 interchange adjacent to Round Top Road.
Okay, staff report.
Mr. Chair, AJ Swain from Cheyenne Planning and Development again. This is the map that I was speaking of, the one that shows the proposed LI and AG. In the top left corner of the map, you can see that that is the portion that will be rezoned to LI, and then the long, well, pretty much everything south of that square would be AG. Staff standing by for questions.
Okay, questions or comments from committee? Questions from committee? Okay, thank you. Public comment.
Chairman, council members, Brad Emmons, AVI agent for the applicants. As AJ said, primarily the zone that is for the project equality site. That's the only area that would be currently zoning. Any other development on any of the other lots are we're asking for AG, which is the holding zone. And so if there was any development to occur on those other lots, we'd be back before you to change the zone on those. So most of it is a holding zone across east to west. And then again, the southwest corner of Round Top and I-80 is the real area that's being zoned for future development at this time. And just to make sure the council knows there is an admin plat on that parcel as well to create one lot so that it would be ready for development sooner. So there is a plat for only the LI lot that is going through the process at this time, so that we can get that project moving forward. Be happy to answer any questions of the council.
Dr. Rennie.
Mr. Chairman, can Connor Lloyd, can you pull up page 12 of the report?
Yeah, while he's doing that, Brad, when do they plan on breaking ground on that?
Mr. Chairman, through you, so there is quite a bit of studies going on. I don't know that I could speak specifically from the standpoint of on-site stuff, but we do have some water main looping to do, some sewer main looping to do, which I think we calculated at about 12 to 16 months to get all of that stuff done. That doesn't mean they couldn't start grading or getting some on-site stuff. we help them with the offsite infrastructure. We don't do anything inside their boundaries, so that would be where I would be at for our stuff that'd be offsite if we can work out the sewer main locations, the water main looping, those kinds of stuff. That would be the earliest I could see on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so to Mr. Emmons, through you, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the stretch I asked about earlier through here, a lot of the green in there, at least according to this map, is open space or public lands. And the reason I'm asking is several years ago, when that was first brought into the city, we actually had some land designated for a trail system to connect west to the Belvoir. That was sold off during the Orr administration, much to my dismay. Is there any way, if that's, currently designated as public or open space, is there any way we can look at considering some kind of trail system that takes us a little farther west?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Dr. Rennie. So again, that's privately owned by Dyno Nobel. So I would say if that was something that this body would want to do, you would need to speak to Dyno Nobel on the majority of the way across there. The last little bit is owned by the Samuelson Swan Ranch LLC. So that is correct too. And I believe that even shows if a community area on the land use plan, because it was all owned by the city when the future land use plan was done. It is being held in AG again. My recollection, when I've talked, because we were turning this in, I made sure with Dyno Nobel that they didn't want another zone. And they said, no, they want it as a holding zone and to keep it as open space at this time. So they do not have any development plans in the near future for that area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that property is also subject to, this is Seth Lloyd with the Planning and Development Department. That property is also subject to the Swan Ranch Development Agreement, and as part of the Swan Ranch Development Agreement, there is discussion about trails going out that direction. It's unclear to me anyway, but it's hypothesized that the sale of land did not supersede the development agreement, and therefore the trail might still be an option utilizing that instrument. We haven't pursued that fully, so it may be an option in the future as we get to the point where we actually do want a trail out there, that we might be able to have that discussion.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from committee? Okay. Public comment? Public comment? Nope. Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Number 21, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to sign a final plat for North Row, City of Cheyenne, Laramie County, Wyoming, located at 4612 Van Buren Avenue.
Good. Staff report. No. So Seth, did you just come in as a coach? Go ahead, staff report, please.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Athen Morris with Planning and Development. Behind you, we have a final plat that is located at 4612 Van Buren Ave. It is a final plat that is looking to get 10 units of single-use residential units, and then one use for a common space area there in the middle, lot 11. We got we had the preliminary plat passed, and it mimicked this final plat pretty closely. At the last planning commission meeting, we got this approved, and so we would like to again ask for approval of it. There is 2 conditions. We do need a block number, and we do need utility easements added. So we are hoping that you can approve this plat pending those conditions. For any questions, here I am.
Good. Any questions from committee?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Seagrave.
through you, on the planning commission report. You guys kind of threw me off. The location, it says the southeast corner of Dell Range and Van Buren. And I believe this is the northwest corner, isn't it? So I had to pull up the county map to convince myself of where this was at. I just want to make sure we're right. Is it, okay, that's all I like the project. I just wanted to make sure I was in the right spot. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Rennie.
again, with the combined open space, I assume this falls under our cottage lot type development. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from committee? Okay, any public comment? Public comment? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, move to adopt the planning commission recommendation. Conditions A, adding utility easement, and B, adding the block number to the plan.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from committee? Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, being there's no further business in front of the Public Services Committee, we are adjourned.